Well, good evening. This is Dr. Ellithorpe. This is Tustin Longevity Center. Ask the Doctor Anything, where we meet once a week, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock on the Tuesdays evenings of every week. We provide this as a platform, a venue for you to present your integrative healthcare, preventative, functional medicine questions. We've been practicing natural hormone replacement therapy, detoxing, chelation therapy, high dose vitamin C, dietary, complete digestive stool analysis, and all these kind of natural therapies for 40 years at least. And so we have a lot of experience. This is not meant to be personal medical advice. Rather, this is to be an educational forum where you would be able to ask a question about a symptom complex or question where you'll see how we think, what we're thinking in our minds, our experience both as allopathic trained medical doctors and how we would begin to approach the integrative, functional, preventative sort of response to these questions. Again, we do this for your benefit. We're trying to promote prevention, personal responsibility for your own health. And so most of this is a repetitious kind of lifestyle because remember, 85%, maybe even as much as 95% of all chronic medical problems are lifestyle. And so it's right and proper that your doctor should be well versed in lifestyle management alongside or precluding other more aggressive therapies from standard allopathic medicine. Your doctor should be always asking you how much water do you drink every time, getting your basic background on your lifestyle activities. Do you exercise? Do you sleep well? Do you still make hormones? Hormones are a tremendous part of your repair and sense of well being, even sleep, memory, and so forth. So, we're trying to promote this here and just have a little bit of fun every week with you all. So, if this is a benefit to you, please like, please subscribe, please share this with a friend. And we do have the typed up protocol if you're a member on our newsletter at tlcdoctors.com, TLC Doctors, plural, tlcdoctors.com. Then you can get on our newsletter and notification of each of these. When you get a notification, there's a link. You can hit the link and type in your question. What I try and do is I will look at live because if you're on YouTube, you can type in a question live. I try and get them first. And then we have our mailed in types of questions that come in every week. Sometimes I get through them all. Sometimes I have to catch up and get some from the prior week as well. So let's begin today. We have some live questions already coming in. Jennifer says, a friend came in from her backyard and got an itch on her lower back. No sign of a bite, but still a terrible itch and a little painful. A week later, or she asking, will Argentin help? What else might help? Thanks. Well, that makes me think of shingles. You can actually get shingles without the rash if you don't see any rash there or a bite. So I would look into that, how old. If it's a very, very young person, then it's not likely to be shingles. But if it's, middle-aged or older, very likely that could be a subclinical uh, type of shingles. The itching and the lack of a rash does not mean it is not shingles. So I would have that followed up and address it. Now, will Argentin help? I don't think it will be any help if there's no rash, nothing broken in the skin. If vitamin C is around, I would take vitamin C. If you do see an eruption, little vesicles, or a pattern of pain that seems to appear along one side of the back and hip, buttocks and thigh, then we're talking shingles. So you could try and high dose vitamin C drip. You could get on an antiviral medication like uh, uh, valcyclovir and see your local doctor on that. We use anti-inflammatories like Vitalzyme. That reduces inflammation. Very low carb diet. In fact, we people who have shingles, we ask them to fast for 24 to 48 hours to bring down inflammation right away, and that helps to promote healing, stimulate the recovery and immune system better. High dose vitamin C helps to prevent what we call post-hermetic herpetic neuropathy, post-herpetic neuropathy, which is pain along the nerve site. So think about that. Uh, I have no other idea, and since it sounds unusual, I would have a doctor take a look at that. Um, the next question on the live is from Gwen, and Gwen says, "What labs do you recommend that one of your new patients get before seeing you? Female, age 41. What kind of labs to get?" Well, I would certainly for a 41-year-old, if you're still menstruating, I would try and get your blood tested around day 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 of your menstrual cycle. So day 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That is from the first day of your period. So that way I can tell if you're still ovulating. It's unlikely that you ovulate as much as you get older and closer to menopause, but it's very helpful to try and get your blood work right around day 21 of your menstrual cycle, and we'll know if you ovulated or not. I can get your estradiol level, your progesterone level, your testosterone, your dihydroepiandrosterone, DHEA. There's a DHEA sulfate that I would do. I would get a comprehensive chemistry, which will have your fasting blood sugar, your liver enzymes, your bone enzymes, your salts, and immunoglobulin IgG levels in it. So that's called a comprehensive chemistry. Usually they have 24 to 27 different items in a comprehensive one. Then a complete blood count, a CBC. Make sure you're not anemic. I would like to have a fasting insulin. I would like to have the hemoglobin A1C, which is the amount of glycosylated sugar sticking to the protein. I would like your homocysteine. Homocysteine will tell me about your methylation, B methylation tendencies. If you're struggling with it, you're likely to have the methotetrahydrofolate problem. But I usually just do homocysteine and check that first. Then I would like your lipid profile to check your HDL to triglyceride ratio. And then I would get your thyroid stimulating hormone, a free T3, as well as your thyroid peroxidase antibodies and your thyroglobulin antibodies. That would be a good start for you. And that's what I recommend. Okay, Gwen. In the live, we have another question from Diane. What do you recommend for vertigo due to an acute sinus infection? I'm a 68-year-old woman with a history of upper respiratory infections. I think the first thing I would suggest is fasting for 24 to 48 hours. Always fasting reduces inflammation. And then, of course, I would drink, as much water as you can. This is my water bottle with my analemma wand and my straw. Then I would recommend an extremely low-carb diet thereafter. The more food allergens you get out of your diet if you have vertigo, if you went carnivore for a month, that would get all the plant lectins and anti-nutrients that we get from plants out of your body, and reduce the inflammation from that if that's any of the cause. It will also be beneficial if you took high dose systemic enzymes on an empty stomach, like Vitalzyme or Vascuzyme. I would take 5 twice a day on an empty stomach. I would also take vitamin D and make sure your levels checked with your doctor get up to around somewhere between 80 to 120. I always do that with the chemistry to check the liver enzymes, and I've never seen that dose be an unsafe dose to take, say, 10,000 with vitamin K. And then I would take a natural antihistamine. Ours is called D, as in dog, D dash hist, Hist. Now, that is put out by Orthomolecular. We have private labeled it here. It's called Seasonal Shield. It has quercetin in it and things like stinging nettles that help as a natural antihistamine. And then I would take vitamin C. I have the buffered vitamin C. In fact, I have it right now because this is the cold and flu season. So here's the buffered C. What I do with this is I take a capsule of it. I'll do this tonight. And then I pull it apart over my mouth. So the capsule will fall, the contents of the C will fall into my mouth. And I let that kind of get that sour taste, swish it around and swallow it. I do 2 capsules in the morning, 2 in the evening, especially in the spring and in the fall to avoid colds. And high dose vitamin C also acts as an antiviral and natural antihistamine. Those are the things that I would do for myself if I had, the issues with vertigo. Of course, if it's persistent or worsening, you should see your doctor. And if you can't improve with these simple things in a short time, within a week or two, then you have to go to them and possibly get imaging, make sure there isn't any issues with your eighth nerve and so forth with a brain MRI, things like that. But that's very, very, very rare. So that's the first steps I would do. Christina asks, hi, Dr. Rita, have you heard of frequency healing and people having frequency illness? Yes, I have, on both. You could say matter is energy and energy is matter. I mean, that's one of the questions that Nobel Prize winners ponder. At what point does energy impacting matter and matter impacting energy meet, and how do they impact one another is the question. And we know that there are sounds and frequencies that are associated with a sense of well-being, a sense of healing. And all kinds of studies with animals, even humans, but mostly with animals, have taken certain sound frequencies at certain decibels, and they have pulsed them, or they've done them continuously. They do it at night when the animal's resting, or they have it all day long. I mean, many variables. And they find that the wounds, let's say they'll put a laceration, and they'll find that certain frequencies at certain decibels heal quicker. So you have heard how water studies, you think and say bad things to a glass of water, and you can see maybe on photography of its crystal formation into ice that it seems to have a disorganized crystal formation as it freezes, whereas into another vial of water you speak loving, forgiving, comforting things, and when it's frozen it has these beautiful symmetrical harmonic kind of intricacies to the crystal formation. So we know sound and matter is interplayed massively. I ponder this as a Christian, my worldview as a Christian, when I think of Colossians in the New Testament. Colossians in the New Testament, where the Lord says he holds all things together by the substance of his word. So it makes me ponder, what is the blend between energy and matter? And of course, it says in the first sentence of the Bible, he spoke everything into existence. Or so, time, space, matter, and so forth. So yeah, of course I believe this. And I've been studying this 40, 50 years. There's wonderful books I've brought up many times, vibrational medicine. And the other one is the body electric, the body electric. And now I've been promoting the information on Dr. Gerald Pollack's study on water called The Electrical Structure of Water by Dr. Pollack, Pollack. We actually can see now that there's a fourth phase of water called a gel form, and that's exactly what you are in and all living cells, including plants. And this is the first time we have a explanation of why water can climb up a 300-foot red tree. And the column of water is so huge and tall and long. How on earth can it be drawn up? And we find now that the electrical structure of water creates a magnetic draw from the positive negative poles of the water molecules. It's quite fascinating. It's there's so much to learn both now and then the rest of my existence eternally will be in hopefully looking at these wonderful things about the massive creation. So yes, I do believe there is healing from frequency and sound, and this has to be studied. So there you have it. And that says, are omega oils good to eat or good to take? It depends on the oil. We as 98.6 living beings and animals, I think if you're a veterinarian, a dog's temperature is like 100 or 99.8. Anyway, they're warmer than us. But if you realize that fatty acids have double bonds, and these double bonds are unstable in general, they want to link up with another hydrogen or another carbon connection to make the bond more stable. When double bonds are in a chain and a double bond occurs between two carbons, it kinks the chain, so it isn't a straight chain anymore. It starts to bend. So the more double bonds, the more kind of squirrely the fatty acid is, instead of a long chain hanging down. If you're a fish, a living being, but a fish, and you're in, 30-degree water, you don't want to freeze. So God put a lot of double bonds into the fatty acids of the cell membranes of a fish, like EPA and DHA. There's 6 double bonds in the DHA, and there's 5 double bonds in the EPA. In human beings, there's 2 double bonds in the linoleic, and there's 3 double bonds in the alpha linoleic. And that's our 2 known essential fatty acids that we have to have. We cannot make them. So yeah, if you get the essential fatty acids, a human needs linoleic and alpha linoleic acid, which you can get from egg yolks and chicken and fish and meat and things like that. Yes, some seeds have it, or nuts, but nothing as much as in eating the meat, fish, chicken, turkey, beef, egg yolks. Then you're going to have healthier cell membranes, less wrinkling, better thinking, better memory, longer life, better immune system. Everything will be better because every cell membrane will be made up of a better, stronger, more resilient, so to say, wall, you might say. The more you put in 6 and 5 carbon fatty acids into your diet through these silly fish oils, even prescription Luvasa, I think is the name of it. It just shows you the utter lack of education that these doctors have. They don't get enough biochemistry. I really think that there is a dumbing down of the doctors of today. They just don't get taught enough of this biochemistry, chemistry. In order to really read all these scientific articles, I really do think you're going to require, or should require, every medical doctor to have a chemistry degree. I really do. But be it as it may, it's too hard to understand these things if you are not well versed in organic, physical, analytical chemistry and the um, electrical potentials of the cells and their connections. When you think of the term fish, how they stink once they're killed, a fish out of water stinks immediately because it combines with the oxygen and gets rancid right away. That those unstable bonds meet with the warmer temperature out of the water and the oxygen, and they start literally cooking, frying up. Okay, that's combining with oxygen, burning up, and they stink. So we are short of stinking because we only have the 2 and 3 double bonds, really. And it's harder for oxygen to burn us up, even though we live in an oxygen rich environment. It's quite amazing the structure of a human being and the structure of fats. So we're made of fat and protein. We then have minerals that condense along these structures of the fat and protein to make our bones and stuff like that. Our brain nerves are wrapped up in myelin sheaths full of fat. Every part of you is fat and protein. There is no requirement for carbohydrates. So you can do all your living just being a carnivore. I don't live as 100% carnivore. I enjoy some cooked vegetables, but I really don't eat raw vegetables at all, especially the older that I am. It's much, much harder on my gut. So cooked vegetables, buttered up with some salt, and my meat, my fish, my chicken, all these things, my ham and my eggs is what I eat. Okay. Carolyn says, I notice when I eat fish and have an alcohol drink, taking just one, I get dizzy, vomit, pass out. I read about alcohol poisoning because of the fish alcohol combo in sensitive people. Well, that's quite remarkable, Carolyn, and certainly you need to share that with your local doctor. I would have to say I am not familiar with that direct fish and alcohol combination just from a meal. This is new to me. I'm going to have to take a note down. Let me get my little note and put in here when you eat fish and alcohol, and then you get dizziness and loss of consciousness. Check. I'm gonna have to. I mean, I could theorize with my history of chemistry and stuff like that, but I don't think this is the exact place. Alcohol is a poison, and it's just not a useful thing to do. So I can have just as much fun talking with humans around me and seeing beautiful things over my black coffee and my water filtered as I can if I were to have a drink. Although I'm not a teetotaler, I will probably have an alcoholic beverage on special occasions, but uh, believe me, it's a toxin, so that counts that out right there. But I'll have to look into that, Carolyn. I can't give an answer to that. But if you have had that happen where you passed out, I would definitely see your local physician and describe that and get a cardiovascular workup done as well. All right. Now let's go to some of these questions here that I have. Some of these are from last week. There were a few I didn't get to. Let's see if I can answer them quickly. Um, Hi, Dr. Rita. Oh, she's saying I look nice. Thank you so much from last week, Krista. She was wondering how would I get rid of the annoying belly fat that's been accumulating now that I'm 56. Would you recommend a supplement protocol for being 5 years past menopause and feel good and want to continue that way? Thank you. Well, the American diet is a challenging, sad um, um, diet because I would say 85% of the food in the grocery store is not good for you. It's processed. So you would have to eat real natural foods, not processed. That'd be the number one thing. Number two, you have to stay hydrated. We are mostly made of water. And as boring as you may think water is, I would ask you to watch the movie, the YouTube by Dr. Pollack, Gerald Pollack, Pollack. electrical structured water. And it will make you appreciate the Word of God and water, and why water is only found where life exists, uh, and how amazing it is. And it's certainly why we have such healthy looking skin and eyes and body parts. So that'd be number two. So eat real food. I would say, since we're made of fat and protein, you want to make a diet largely of fat and proteins: meat, fish, chicken, turkey, beef, eggs. I'm in favor of vegetables that would be cooked. I don't like raw anything. I don't even like raw fruit. You can get vitamin C enough from your meat, by the way, raw, wild, grass fed forms. Now, the supplements that I think have borne witness to being the most researched in the world would be Juice Plus. That's hands down. There's no contender to how much research Juice Plus has. It just is the number one standard bearer for any other supplement that'll ever be created. I do believe Juice Plus is continuing its studies, and it has well over 40 some peer-reviewed third-party university-based research worldwide, and it's all astounding on its immune support. It prevents DNA breakdown. So these are various things that you want to see in something to help slow your aging, keep your metabolism up so you don't gain weight. Now, you have to exercise. You are losing your muscle mass after age 40. Clearly, you're losing your muscle mass. And if I were a financial planner, I would tell people to buy their, land and, 401k or whatever, and gold and silver, and have a diversified program. But I'm not a financial planner. I'm a health planner. And the place to invest in for your long health is muscle building. You have to put muscle building into your body to have a mass of muscle, so that when you're 70, like myself, you can pick up your 30-pound toddler and literally bench press them 2 or 3 times and watch them giggle. Most women can't do that in their 70s. So you've got to do your weight training to enjoy that, Krista. Uh, I believe in natural bioidentical hormone replacement, progesterone, estradiol, DHEA, and testosterone. I believe in vitamin D with K2, 5 to 10,000 minimum a day. And then I believe in a good multi mineral chelated to amino acid minerals. We have the magnesium and the calcium with the potassium and the boron and the manganese, all those selenium multi-minerals. And so I take a multi-mineral, I take the Juice Plus, I take the D10,000 with K2, I take Juice Plus, and then I take my systemic enzymes so I don't get inflamed. I eat a very low carb diet. I exercise, going to bed on time to try and get all the healing I can. I try to go to bed around 9 or 10 o'clock every night. I try and get up at 4:30, 5:30 every morning. I ground. I put my feet in the wet grass at sunrise. I'm out there 2-3 minutes with my feet in the wet grass. But I'm also doing my morning walk. So I'm getting that infrared morning light at the sunrise, and my weightlifting 3 times a week. So I stop eating around 3 to 4 in the afternoon every day. And that's pretty much the protocol that I do, Krista. Diane says, my son has just been diagnosed with latent tuberculosis, probably caused by his Stelara shots. That's right, for psoriasis. Stelara is a immunosuppressive injection that I think blocks certain of the interleukins. There's many kinds of immunosuppressive, but this is designed just for these psoriatic arthritis, things like that. There are other ones for the Crohn's or celiacs. When you suppress your immune system, then there are bacteria, fungi, and viruses always in the environment. And you can wind up getting an expression of that tuberculosis bacilli or the chronic, valley fever, and or mycoplasma, which is a variant like of tuberculosis or other things, if you're suppressing your immune system all the time. So she says this was prescribed to take care of his psoriasis. Yes. What else can he do? Diane, I would have him see a good functional doctor. I have taken many people with psoriasis, celiac disease, Crohn's, other autoimmune phenomena, and I have put them on a pure carnivore diet. You at least, if they have chronic severe problems, at least 6 to 9 months, and that really quiets down the immune system. And then I give them IV high dose vitamin C, and I remove oxidative stress through chelation, EDTA chelation. I hydrate them, and I ask them to filter their water. I ask them to do weight training. I put them on natural anti-inflammatories to cool the skin or inflammatory process down with enzymes like Vitalzyme, 5 on an empty stomach twice a day. I often will give them, of course, the vitamin D and the minerals. I put most all of them on iodine, including myself. That's something else I take. I Odorol, 12.5 milligrams a day. And that's what I would do for him. Maria says, you've recommended high dose vitamin C and iodoral for respiratory support. From a clinical and scientific perspective, would you please explain the efficacy of this combination? Specifically, how does it support immune function, mucosal integrity, and the clearance of respiratory pathogens? Well, iodine, when it's in the body in adequate or very supportive levels, creates a glycerol iodine kind of molecule that is involved in disrupting the bonds in the mucin, the proteinaceous bonds, and that helps make the mucus heavier and more easily to expectorate or cough up. Vitamin C doesn't have any specific mucinolytic activity of itself, but it acts as an antiviral, anti-inflammatory. So it helps depress the inflammation that would generate continued illness, and builds the body with making better hyaluronic acid, collagen elastic bonds for a better, healthier base wherever that mucous membrane was injured from the virus. So these are the reasons why we do it. For years, iodine had been used in hospitals as an expectorant, as a nasal lavage. And of course, there was a lot of good signs as an antiviral with this COVID created episode that they put us all through, was helped with this iodine and high dose vitamin C as well. So they are not specifically understood to be mucinolytic, either the iodine or the vitamin C, but they are very valuable to have in preventing the viral and support the immune defense system. Maria says, would you share any clinical solutions for managing GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, and strained vocal cords? I'm curious how these two issues might be connected and what nutritional, lifestyle, or therapeutic strategies can promote healing and long-term relief. Well, I think a week or two ago, I had lost my voice for a day or two. And I have to admit, the Sunday night before, the Monday, I just had no voice, or maybe it was Monday night to Tuesday. I ate too late. And then on top of that, I laid down flat shortly after eating late. And I had silent reflux. And I knew in the middle of the night, maybe around 3, 4 in the morning, that there was this burning sensation here. And indeed, my vocal cords got inflamed. Now, did I secondarily, because I'm seeing people pick up a virus that added some sense of a slight achiness and myalgia, fatigue to it? Well, I wasn't really ill. It's just that I had lost my voice, which I attribute to the chemical burn of the acid of silent reflux. So what do I need to do? I need to recognize the older I get, and now certainly that I'm in my 70s, the older I get, I have to understand I don't digest as well and fast as I did when I was younger. So it's said that anyone really who is past the age of 60, it might even be valuable sooner because we eat such a bad diet. And certainly people with blood type A who have poor digestive skills anyway, they don't make enough acid or digestive enzyme A as a class of blood type. These people have digestive issues, and nutrition is not as good, and rebuilding their body is not as good as if you can't digest well. So A type people get troubles even from childhood on. So I would say elevate the head of your bed. So I do and bought for myself a like a medical bed where I can raise up the back of my bed and my knees as well, so I don't slide down at night. And I keep mine. I sleep at about a 12 degree. I raise it to about a 12-degree angle. Somewhere between 12 and 20 degrees associated with far less aspiration pneumonias, uh, uh, issues of low oxygenation, sleep apnea, things like that. So I can't tell you how important it is to not eat late. That's why the research also shows that you should not eat past 3 o'clock in the afternoon if you're over 60 as well. So raise the head of your bed, don't eat late, and then drink copious amounts of water and take digestive enzymes after you eat. I ate, of course, before we started this venue today. Digestive enzymes will help with the acid production in your stomach to digest your food, plus the drop of the pH in your stomach will help signal your duodenum to open up and let the stomach contents pass on through into the jejunum, your upper intestine, and so forth. Another thing that you could do is have a rule that you will, eat a rich protein diet. Probably if you're older, you need help anyway, even if you're not a blood type A, with taking digestive enzyme. And a protein rich diet helps repair the one cell thick membrane of the esophagus all the way down through the anus. It's only one cell membrane thick. It's made of protein and fat. So you better eat a lot of protein and fat to fix it. And you better be nice to your gut and try and eat a more simplistic menu. See, we're propagandized and socialized through pressures to eat junk that we shouldn't be eating and eat it too often and eat it too late. It's all marketing. But in the older days, people didn't have this variety. And if they caught a deer, guess what you're eating for the next day or two or three? Deer. If you caught a bison, guess what you're going to be eating for the next several days? Bison. So none of this talk about, that I'm not interested in eating that. I want something fun to eat. This is all you've been propagandized. And the more variety you send down this hole multiple times a day, the harder it is on the immune system lining your gut. About close to 80% of all your immune cells line your gut because it's such a tiny one cell membrane surface, and you can take in so many potential things that would harm you. So the more humble you are with self-restraint, if you have a menu, eat one menu a day, then change it the next day if you want some variety. But be nicer to your gut. All these things will help your gastrointestinal system. Eating a low-carb diet, of course, will help you, especially if you eat plenty of protein. Exercise will help with your digestion and promote healing. Just the contraction of muscles is associated with myosins. These are new research studies on the fragments of muscle breakdown and its recycling in the body, and the growth stimulation and the longevity, youth enhancing presence of weightlifting. So that's one of the three biggies for living long and well. The next one is from George. Looks like it's the same question. Would you explain the connection between acid reflux and difficulty swallowing or choking in some individuals? What are some professional and natural strategies for managing acid reflux that support long-term healing without relying solely on medication? Well, the H2 blockers, proton pump inhibitors, like the purple pill, Nexium, and the like, uh, these are stopping acid production. And if you don't have acid in your stomach, then the food's going to stay there longer and it's going to promote reflux. So it's a catch-22. You need the acid and the digestive enzymes. That's why you should eat early and end by 3 in the afternoon. Take the digestive enzyme that has betaine hydrochloric acid with the enzymes to help chop the food up in your stomach, get the pH down so the duodenum is signal at the lower pH to open up and let it out. And do all the things I mentioned. Plus, the scarring is your body, if it's continually being irritated, it's only one cell membrane thick, your body's going to go into the mode of scarring, and that'll tighten it, and that'll make the peristalsis of the muscles discoordinate, and it won't go down smoothly. It'll come to scar tissue, get confused, and then try and propagate down. So you have to see your gastroenterologist, do an endoscopy, make sure that there isn't anything more serious, and start taking good care of yourself, and just refer to the prior answer. Mary says, sometimes I find the outside front of both feet and toes go numb. So that's the outside of her little pinky toes on both sides. It may be related to issues I have in my spine. It tends to happen based on the position. I'm in bed and will go away with a change of position. Sometimes it's when I'm sitting and occasionally standing. Should I worry, exercise more? Well, Debbie, I don't know how old you are, how much you weigh, all these kind of things. So my question would be, this is the L5 pattern. The little toe on both sides is L1, L1, S1. So actually it's S1 and L1 is right next to it. So yes, this could be inflammation at your lumbar 5 to your first sacroiliac vertebra. That joint there is under a lot of strain and inflammation. And so positionally, especially if you're dehydrated or you're really overweight, that will put a pinch upon that area or strain and give you tingling. Probably. So I would see your orthopedic doctor, get an MRI done. Make sure you're at an optimal weight. Do weightlifting training to build up all your muscles so you can support your structure no matter what you're doing, bending over, the core, especially some leg lifts, all these things, and just have that checked out. But it sounds like it's the S1 pathway, sacroiliac number 1 dermatome to both outside little toes of the outside of the feet. And then the area just next to that would be L5. Yeah. All right. Nori says, my son is on a keto diet along with intermittent fasting. He complains of heartburn only during times of fasting. What can he do to prevent this? I would modify his fast and use what is called bulletproof coffee. That's where you add a tablespoon of butter into hot coffee or hot tea or a hot herbal drink and sip on that. And that's very soothing. You could take a swig of olive oil or you could take some MCT oil or put it in the warm drink as well. That's what I would recommend for that. Lena says, hi, Dr. E. I'm 76 in good health, no cavities since I was a little girl. My dentist says I grind my teeth and the enamel has worn away in some of my molars, so dentine is exposed. One molar has a slight crack and she recommends I get a crown and a mouth guard. Have Medicare and get exam yearly and clean 2 times a year. No pain at all. Should I get a crown? Well, I'm not a dentist, and so I would say it sounds like you should get the guard for the grinding, but get a toothpaste that has hydroxyapatite and a xylitol-based toothpaste or chewing gum with hydroxyapatite in it, and then they usually put in some minerals in it. So that is very involved in mineralizing your teeth. And show it to your dentist what you're using. And then Gloria says, What does uh, vitamin K1 do in the body, and is it a good addition with K2 and D3? Well, we usually don't have deficiencies in vitamin K1 unless you have chronic malabsorption, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. You had a short gut syndrome, like you had uh, um, a stomach bypass, and they bypass a large portion of your gut. Um, so these serious conditions would be needing supplementation for sure. K1 uh, is the one that is associated with blood clotting. And that's where you hear the cardiologists say, don't eat leafy green vegetables if you're on Coumadin, but hardly anybody's on Coumadin anymore. And so that's not as much of a problem because Coumadin would promote, and be useful in blood clot prevention and so forth in the body, or rather in your clotting mechanism. So if you took a lot of it, then they're trying to thin your blood by giving you Coumadin, and so you'd be going against the doctor on Coumadin, which is trying to thin the blood, whereas vitamin K1 is in the mechanism of the clotting pathway to have healthy clotting intact, healthy clotting intact. So, what is K2? It's different. It's really more involved in calcium metabolism and promoting calcitonin, uh, the cell building of bones, and is associated with, uh, preventing osteoporosis, things like that. This is made in the gut, and bacteria make it. The source for K2 is animal products because they have so many stomachs. Like in a cow, there's a lot of fermenting and digesting that goes on. So K2 is produced in animal products, hard cheeses, meat, things like that. So yes, you can take them together. Of course, vitamin D3, I support doing that. But vitamin K1 is in the clotting pathways to have healthy clotting. Vitamin K2 is in calcium metabolism and storage, and promoting healthy bone formation. There are studies being done on this, and even looking at it preventing abnormal calcification of coronary artery vessels. And so there's research going on in that right now. Let's see, we have some new live questions here. Elizabeth says, I am 73 years old, blood type O, negative. Work out with heavy weights 4 times a week. Good girl. On bioidentical hormones, double good girl. Drink my water, triple good girl. Take my supplements, quadruple good girl. I've been experiencing body pain, arms, and legs. This has been happening for several months. What can cause this? What can I take? Can I do chelation once a month? Well, yes, you can do chelation, absolutely, which will improve microcirculation. You should be seen, Elizabeth, and look for inflammatory markers, your HSCRP, your sedimentation rate, inflammation markers. And let's see, at 73, your rate of breakdown compared to your rate of building up is the whole game we're trying to do. By doing weightlifting, we're trying to have all these wonderful stimulators to repair and keep up the way we used to when we were much more youthful. So, why you're having this ache, I do not know, but it sounds like maybe some systemic enzymes need to be taken. But do see your doctor and do keep up all the wonderful things you're doing, and get some fasting lab to look for inflammation markers, and then measure your hormone levels, and then do have the doctor examine you. So go there. June says, I've been eating 0 carbs the past 6 weeks, basically eating carnivore, but not seeing or feeling any big change. My hemoglobin A1C went up, not sure why, as my blood sugars have been so stable. Well, that's a a deep question. There are those who do absolutely pure carnivore, so they're not getting any carbohydrates in for sure. And what we find is that their hemoglobin A1C can go up slightly. And what that means is actually more than likely their red blood cells are living healthier and longer. And so instead of doing a 3-month average red blood cell exposure to sugar, you're really getting a 6-month average exposure, which will include more hits, and because you're actually healthier. Um, so it is complex. The difference between a pure carnivore and sustained, also in someone who's exercising, as opposed to someone who's very low carb, I would put me in that category because I do eat some vegetables, but I do exercise. So when you say you're eating no carbs and then you say you're having some elevation in your blood sugar, I would need to know what you're calling an elevation, because we like blood sugars under 85 or less. So see your doctor, have your insulin tested. That'd be the number one thing, to get a fasting insulin and figure that out, and discuss that with them, June. All right, then the last page of questions. I might get done today after all. Mary says, hi, I wondered if you might have any idea what would cause several small lumps under the skin between the area of the knee and hip that are sometimes a bit itchy, irritating. I see it could be fatty deposits when I search online. Is there anything you recommend? Well, I'd have to see that, Mary. That's tons of things that we could think about. If it's the inner aspect of the thigh, that's where your lymph node chain would be. That would be more concerning. If it's the outside of the thigh, then that's more lipomas. And then if it's just the skin and they're little tiny little bumps, then that could maybe be just age-related skin changes, chiliosis, which is a vitamin A for the skin deficiency. So have a doctor see that. Jennifer says, can you please tell me your thoughts on having a computed tomography, more commonly known as a CT or CAT scan? My doctor thought it would be a good to do since my mother had heart disease. I'm reluctant to have this done. I'm 68. Thank you. There's a lot of valid arguments to get a coronary artery calcium score for predictive values of heart disease. And there is a wonderful video, and I don't have it here. Let's see if I can remember it in my brain. Cummin, Cummin. I forget what his first name is. He's from Ireland. And he wrote a YouTube. It's on YouTube, and it's about coronary artery calcium score by Ivor Cummin. His first name is Ivor, Ivor Cummin, Cummin. And he does a fantastic meta-analysis, retrospective and forward-looking. He's been looking at this for decades, and he's a great advocate. He has a lot of good science, European science as well, on the value of getting a coronary artery CT scan of the chest. So I'm in favor of it. Aniki says, what functional integrative medicine measures can be taken to control hair loss from alopecia areata? That's usually an autoimmune cause. And so the number one thing I would do if that ever happened to me would be go 100% pure carnivore. Number one, because your hair is made of protein. Number two, the older you get, it's harder and harder to get that protein to go to these non-life sustaining areas like your finger and toenails and your skin and your hair. So you have to eat a high protein diet. Being carnivore would be excellent. Drink enough water and do exercises regularly to stimulate growth hormone and repair hormones, and stop eating late. I would stop eating somewhere around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Absolutely. Then I would take a good methylated B complex, and I would take selenium. I would take a good TLC multimin will have the selenium you need in it and all the B vitamins. And then probably a digestive enzyme to help you digest all that protein. That's what I would do to calm the immune system. And then, of course, you can see your dermatologist or your doctor. Sometimes they'll prescribe minoxidil to Propecia is another name of it. But I think these natural measures would be good. George says, hi, Dr. E. I was wondering your thoughts on parasitic cleansing. Are there any signs we may have parasites, especially if we have dogs? Is there a natural cleanse you may know of? I'd imagine living in a fast-paced world, undercooked food can find its ways into our consumption. Is it something we need to address? George, I've been practicing 44 years. I have not seen in America at this point parasite infections as a concern. Now, I see a lot of carbs in processed foods, hyperinsulinemia, high insulin generated from all those carbs, and fruit sugars, and eating too late, and inflammation from that, endothelial damage of the lining of the blood vessels from the high blood sugar averages bouncing off the walls all the time. This is the number one thing to spend your time on. Now, I am intensely looking into antiparasiticals like ivermectin, fenbendazole, menbendazole, but they're all in the backdrop of a very low carb diet. So get the basics done. Stop eating late. Get the weightlifting in several times a week. Get the high protein diet, very, very low carb in, and start there. That's where you start. Now, this is the only company that I find putting out a reliable product for ivermectin and fenbendazole. The others have not even 33% of what's in here. This is put out by Mahoney, Mahoney, Paragon, Paragon, and this would have 222 milligrams of fenbendazole and 12 of ivermectin. So if you're going to do anything, you might look at using that. And typically what I see in the literature out there in the blogs, people use that dosing for about 3 days on, 4 days off, 3 days on, 4 days off, 3 days on. And they do that for about 4 to 6 weeks. And yes, it may have some interruption in the development of cancer cells on multiple levels, like the microtubules and the ribosomal transcription portions. So yeah, I'm very much interested in it, and I do have a supply of my own, and I do cyclically take ivermectin myself because in my 70s now I'm getting more prone to colds and stuff, and I want to have something more than just quercetin to protect myself. And Teresa says, anything new on what causes thyroid nodules? Would castor oil packs help eliminate them? Thank you so much. Teresa, it's iodine, lack of iodine. And the autoimmune inflammation and phenomena in our lousy diets. So a very simple one menu day, low in carbs, high in protein and healthy fats. And then take iodoral, anywhere from 12 and a half to 25 milligrams a day. See a good functional doctor. You can do a iodine test. I would use the doctor's data iodine test. I do not trust LabCorp or Westcliff or those other places. Everyone's normal to them, and everyone's getting sick from the LabCorp, Westcor LabCorp. What's the other one? Anyway, all these standard labs have been allowing the ranges to change and float around to allow everyone to get sick. Doctors Data Iodine in St. Charles, Illinois. Doctors Data is the lab I send my urine to with a iodine challenge test. I give 50 milligrams of iodine. I collect 24 hours of urine. Then I send an aliquot to the lab, and they let me know how much iodine came, rinsed through with a challenge dose of 50 milligrams, which is very safe. So get a functional doctor to help you get that ordered. And Debbie says, thank you for answering our questions. I have had 50 chelation treatments and do monthly maintenance. Due to a long ago neck injury, my chelation doctor has me on Plavix because when I try to go without it, I have silent aural migraines or double vision, both being addressed by an upper cervical specialist. Any thoughts or substituting for Plavix? Debbie, I would definitely get a good functional doctor. I don't know your situation, but look at, no one's ever going to do a study on drinking water as an anticoagulant blood thinner. You're just not going to do it. So you take filtered water, drink half your weight in pounds as ounces every day. Then you take systemic enzymes like Vitalzyme or Vascuzyme on an empty stomach, 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening. No one's ever going to do a study and pay for Plavix against systemic enzymes, but I've clinically used it for 44 years, and I find it in my clinical practice to be equivalent. Then I would be very low carb because sugar makes your blood sticky and thick. Don't eat late. Find out if you have any particular food reactions, food allergies, and sensitivities to avoid. Exercise, and that's how I would look at it, Debbie, and work with your local functional doctor. So did I miss anyone? We're 1 minute over. Whitlock. Hello, Dr. Rita. Could you please give your opinion on the use of Miralax for chronic constipation? I think it's safe to use Miralax over and over as needed for that. But why are you still constipated? And is it mineral? Is it lack of good mineralization, lack of hydration? Is it lack of thyroid potential? Is it lack of exercise? Is it lack of a good night's sleep? Hormone replacement? All these things go into that question. But Miralax, I rarely, if ever, prescribe. I believe it works through supporting of moisture retention. I would take chia seeds. I would put chia seeds and put them into some liquid and let it gel up and thick and swallow it down and see if that doesn't help you. That's basically what Miralax does. So with that, I'll say good night to everyone. Again, if this is of value, please like, please subscribe. Please share it with your family and friends. Remember, this is not personal medical advice, but it's meant to be my first thoughts on typical scenarios. See your doctor and functional medicine doctor. And then we will be back here on Tuesday next week at 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock. In the meantime, God bless and take care. Bye-bye.